And we are live. Alafia Mandala Bivi Fahudie. Peace, power, and African liberation. Africans. Yeah, I'm sorry for being 6 minutes late. I thought I had more time than I actually did, but I didn't. So I'm going to invite some people up in here so we can get started. Fly in here. Invite some people, some of the Armored Rock Squad, Dagger Squad, Mossi Warriors, Hinsu Clan, inviting people up in her. Give me just a second. Invite people up in here. People hit me throughout the week. They say, invite me when the show starts. So that's what I'm doing. Here's what I'm doing. Of course, I got to invite family from different organizations. No. Give me a second. Give me a second. Shouts out to my brother Dito Green, Church in the Field. The album is fire. I finished reviewing it today, man. That's a good album. If you like revolutionary music, check it out. I definitely recommend it. People always want to send you messages when you live. Before that, your inbox be dry. Don't nobody talk to you. As soon as you go live, everybody wants to message you. I guess that's just how it goes. Invite a few more people, and then I'm going to check the message board, see what we got. All right. What up, Doug War Eagle, man? Hope everything's good with you. Brother Antoine from the Seshu Metanetra Group. Hotel book. I don't know who. What's going on there, brother Kareem? What's going on? Our Wisdom Q, what's going on, bro? My brother Zaid Malik, salute. What's going on, bro? Lafayette, Baba. Need some of them California teas, brother. Don't ship them to your boy. What's going on, Michelle? Yeah, you finally made it. Lafayette, brother Cuban Crisis. So if you're joining me for the first time, this is an interactive show. I don't bring no notes. I don't bring no books. I don't bring nothing. It's all off the top of the dome. And this is for the community. It's for people to ask questions about topics they've been wondering about pertaining to African history, pertaining to things they may have heard about in our history and lineage that they wanted to know if they were true or not. Didn't have a source on it. This show is for that. Lafayette cousin, Eva, my cousin that's in Senegal, Lafayette. So that's what this show is about. Interactive, you and me, whatever questions you got, I'm here to answer them to the best of my ability. And if I don't know, I have no problem with saying I don't know, and I'll research it and get you the answer. You know, plenty of time people have inboxed me after this show, and I was able to provide references or books or something that they could go to later on. To start off the show, we have a claim from one of our brothers, Brother Nas, Brother Nazir. I looked at it. I listened to his album today. On the opening track, he makes a claim that J. Edgar Hoover was black. That was shocking, to say the least. But I actually do have some information on that. Not that I'm going at the brother, but we have to teach accuracy in the community. There was a genealogist named Greg OTT. He investigated this claim years ago, and he could not substantiate that J. Edgar Hoover was what we would call black. So that's the first piece of evidence. The second piece of evidence is from a writer, Miller McGahee. Now, in her book, she wrote this book in 2000. In her book, she's an African-American that claims that based on family stories and genealogical records, she and J. Edgar Hoover had a common ancestor, a great-grandfather, making him a distant cousin. Hoover's father's family had roots in Virginia, Mississippi, in the antebellum in the South, where interracial liaisons were not uncommon. Some mixing in his family tree is a possibility, but remains unproven. So her argument is based on them having a common great-grandfather. People, I want you to understand me. That does not make you black. It doesn't. J. Edgar Hoover's father is white as hell, and so is his mother. His mother is actually German descent. Having somebody in your family that's black don't make you black. We can't keep handing out these black cards like we giving out a sale now. That man wasn't nowhere near black at all. We got to get back into science, people. I mean, because that claim is just pathetic. I'm sorry. No disrespect to my brother Nas, but that claim is pathetic. I mean, you got to investigate stuff before you put it on your album. So I just wanted to get that out the way. Okay. Brother Kareem says, I'm visiting Senegal again soon and wanted to know if there are any more historical sites or around the country to visit. If you've already visited the African Renaissance Monument, well, if you haven't visited that, I recommend that. I recommend Goree Island. I recommend the Bandia. It's in the city called Bandia. It's a safari that you can take. I recommend that. And while you're out there, you can contact some of the brothers to take you to the historical sites of the Sahur people, where they used to do initiations and praise their deities. So that's what I recommend, brother. Okay, first question from Brother Ini Harat, Sean. Why should West African history be taught in school systems around the world? West African history is a part of world history, and there are many world history programs in various curriculums around the country. I took world history in college. I'm sure many other people did. So why would we leave this part of world history out, especially when it's so influential to the world? Because like it or not, the transatlantic slave trade is very influential to discussions about reparations, discussions about Black people in America, the Black experience in America, and so on and so forth. So why should we just skip over that? I don't think anybody can give me a plausible reason why we shouldn't teach West African history in schools, you know? So definitely we should. Hope I answered your question. Okay, second question from Brother Ini Harat. If you designed an institution or a curriculum to be taught at a major university, what would it be? Are you asking me what it would be centered around? You know me, I'm Afrocentric, so I would like to build an Afrocentric department and infuse that Afrocentric department with science, math, and other studies that will progress us as a people. So something similar to what, not Maladome Summit. What is the name I'm thinking about? He's over Temple University. I'm getting old, man. He's over Temple University. He does a lot of work with Ma Azama. I can't think of his name right now, but he is very influential in Afrocentricity, but similar to the program that he's built at Temple University. And that's what I would build as far as a curriculum. Do you know any Ifa priests in Nashville? I don't off the top of my head, but we're not a very big community, so I can ask around. Favorite scholar of all time. You would think this would be hard, right? It's not really. John Henry Clark. It's my favorite scholar of all time because John Henry Clark was so methodical in his approach, and he was so calm, and he didn't get upset, and he was just deliberate and surgical. And I like his style, you know, and it taught me from a very early age in this scholarship community that you don't have to yell to get your point across. So it's John Henry Clark. Peace, Sister Monica. What's going on? That's how he said his mama named him. For sure, bro. Okay. Oh, God. Monica, don't start with that whoop whoop stuff. Goodness gracious. What's going on, JB? What's going on, Dre Jordan? My wife's in the building. Ifa Tugushe, Lafia Baba. He despised black people who sought liberation in America. Oh, yes, he did. We all know about J. Edgar Hoover and the COINTELPRO program, and you know how he called Martin Luther King a communist and all sorts of things with that guy. I mean, he had files on all of our greatest leaders, fear of the rise of the Black Messiah, all that type of thing. So, you know, let's say that he was black. So what? So what? In Europe, they say godparents are important and you must choose wisely. How would you recommend someone going about and finding the right godparent? Well, you don't really choose both of your godparents. You usually choose one, and then through initiation, you get the other, an Orisha initiation, or it comes out during divination. But in picking one or the other of your godparents, I recommend that you pick one with an established lineage. You pick one that has been practicing for years. You pick one that that you can tell that has a good character. And I'm always willing to assist if you have questions about that. But those are some of the things you look for. An important thing to keep in your mind: nothing should be done without divination. They shouldn't be money hungry, you know. Soliciting of services is a big red flag, you know. And you know, you should generally be able to talk to that person without them bringing up money or you know, other things that make you uncomfortable in your first couple of conversations, you know, because this is a partnership. This is a partnership that will last for the rest of your life. And if they initiate you and they're the ones that put the ashe in you, this is something this is a bond. It can't be broken. So yes, choose very wisely. There are different attitudes about what a godparent is in different temples. Some people say godfathers are the people that put the elekes around your neck. Other people say godfathers are the people that initiate you into Orisha or higher. Whatever the temple's policy is, ask what that policy is. Ask what they consider, and you know, do your research from there. What's going on, Sister Quindella, Sister Tara, Baba Mku, Brother Greg? That's his name. Malefic Kete Asante. I'm getting old, man. I don't know how I forgot Dr. Asante's name, but that would be similar to the program that I would create, Brother Sean. Peace, Brother Kanoon. Yes, the great Baba. Not only was John Henry Clark a Baba, John Henry Clark was crowned a Nana. And if you're not familiar with that term, a Nana is an exalted being in Ghana amongst the Okon tradition. So Baba John Henry Clark got that honor bestowed upon him as an exalted being on earth, a spiritual king, you know. So John Henry Clark, I mean, the man got impeccable credentials. What's going on, Baba Amin? Brother Sankofa, keep Hoover white. You crazy, man. When you go back to Gambia, what is the reaction to you being involved in Ifa? is the Islamic influence in Gambia in opposition to traditional African practice. I've never been to Gambia. I went to Senegal, and I was going to go into Gambia from Senegal, but at the time it was civil unrest. So with the whole Yahya Jammeh thing and him being removed, we decided to stay in Senegal. I'm going to Gambia for the first time in January. But when I was in Senegal, I didn't get anybody that said anything derogatory. Most people didn't even know what my beads meant. So when I even explained it to a few people, and they weren't in opposition, you got to understand, religion isn't the same in Africa as it is in America. In America, if you're a Christian, you're straight Christian. If you're African traditional, you may be straight African traditional. You may practice other things. In Africa, it doesn't define you as much as it defines you in America, if you know what I'm saying. Like, there are people that are Muslims in the daytime, Christians around Christmas, and then at night they go into the shrine. So they understood, what I was saying to them. But for them, it's not an either or thing, because they do it for political reasons, and they do it, most of them do it in secret. So it's not as big a deal as it is for Americans. Lagba, Olalu, Lafia Baba. Favorite Black-owned business. I guess, can I say my own? Can I say Panther Wear? Is that cheating? Okay, favorite Black-owned business outside of Panther Wear. Favorite Black-owned business outside of Panther Wear. Pharaonic is up there. I like their stuff. Pharaonic got real good stuff. It's real quality. The brother Samori Kale's company, who sells the African clothing, I like his company as well. Abju Footwear, of course, with brother love his stuff. That's pretty much off the top of my head what I can think of, but I'm sure there's plenty more. That I just haven't thought of. You gonna make the brother that he integrated the FBI with white too, Baba? Man, you tough. How important is politics in reference to African liberation in America? Politics is something that, we tend to not want to get involved in, but if you're talking about staying in America, you're gonna have to get into politics. And me and my wife talked about this recently. This is what one of the things I propose. Number one, we got to start funding our own candidates. Number two, we got to use people to get in places that normal Africans can't get into. And if you know what I mean, I'm talking about people like, what's the guy's name? Sean something. Mulatto guy, speaks a lot. Sean King. Who's the other guy that spoke at the BET Awards? The guy that was trained in Afrocentric Studies at Howard. We got to use people like them to get us in the door, and then, go from there. I'm all for weaponizing people that want to be on our side that may not be 100% African. I'm all for weaponizing them. Put them in political positions in which we can have some real power. Because that's exactly what the Ku Klux Klan did. That's exactly what the Jewish community did. And it worked for them. So I think that we should try that approach. We have plenty of African-American women that are graduating with law degrees and things of that nature. Make them judges. We have to start that from, yay high, though. There has to be a dedicated team to be created to, put that into action. And I don't want to say too much about my plans or just a plan that I, have in my head. But that's the type of thing that I'm about, man. If you want to be serious about politics in America, we got to get in those areas, man. We got to get in those areas. Because if you want to stay in America, politics is essential. Well, politics is essential everywhere, but especially in America. You know, politics kind of runs things. So you have to get into those meetings, man. Like my boy used to say, the meeting after the meeting. You got to get in there. Brother Amin Ma'at Ra was happening. Sister Afi was happening. Brother Otito, Supreme Ra, Ricky Ross, what's happening? Brother Kevin asked, explain the differences and or similarities in ancient Kemet initiation and Ifa initiation. There are a lot of differences. For example, you'll hear you got to come in clean, you got to wear white. Those are similarities. Offerings to deities. You'll see the Hotep tables in Kemet when they put the offerings and the food on there. Ifa has that as well. Reciting different prayers, or what we call Iwore or Riki and Ifa. You'll see that in Kemet. The divination system is very similar to Kemet and Ifa as well. I'm gonna kill that fly. But one thing that I say is different is, you know, when you talk about Kemet, the 40 years for the initiation for a priest, you know, we don't have that in Ifa. In Ifa, you get initiated, and then, you know, you start your path on learning. Now, that varies from temple to temple as well, because people born into Ifa from Yeha, they've been training all their life, and then they get initiated. So it just depends on the temple. But the time period I see between Kemet and Ifa is different. Of course, Kemet went through several series of supreme beings in different pantheons. For Ifa, although we do have a lot of deities that we don't say anymore, for the most part, the supreme deity pantheon has been held intact. So, you know, in Kemet, you have priest of Ptah, priest of Ra, priest of Amen, you know, priest of Aten. In Ifa, you will have priests of different deities, but they're still the same pantheon, versus in Kemet, you know, the priest of Ptah were strictly priests of Ptah, and they followed the Ptah order of that particular age. With the priest of Amen, you know, they followed that protocol, so much so that when Aten came onto the scene, you know, they kind of pushed the priest of Ptah out of there. You know, you don't really see that in Ifa. If you was a priest of Shango, you was just a priest of Shango. Nobody could take that from you. So that's really the difference I can think of off the top of my head. But the two civilizations are very similar. Good question, Brother Kevin. Are miracles a part of African tradition? Depends on what you call a miracle. Because we hear miracle, that's like spooky, right? You're like, so, but something miraculously happening. Yes, I've seen some miraculous things, but you know, it's not something that just happened out of nowhere. You have to put in work for those things to manifest in your life. So I hope I answered your question. Thoughts on repatriation in reference to giving up some amenities or comforts? We're gonna have to. I can't put it no simpler than that. We're gonna have to. In repatriation, everything's not going to be the same as it is in the Western world. But there are many amenities in Africa that are all the same. But, you know, it's about sacrifice. It's about sacrifice for yourself. It's about sacrifice for your family. It's about sacrifice for your race, for your people, building for the next generation. So, yes, you're going to have to give up some things. In Ghana, they have in Ghana and Senegal, they have a water problem. At certain parts of the day, you may not have any water. I remember when I was in Senegal, it's very humbling, you know, when they bring that big jug of water in for you. This is your water for the day, for bathing. I know we all used to showers and power hoses. Nah, you gotta take that cup, wash the old-fashioned way, you know. So it's very, very humbling, but it's real. And personally, I would rather do that every day than live in this oppressive system that we are living in currently. So my wife laughing because she know that's the truth. And when that water get cold, okay, brother Bomani, what's going on, brother? Black African Power. Hey, man, now the Dito Green drop, man. When you dropping your album, brother? You done made it. Well, Monty, matter of fact, I'm going to take this time to really wring your neck. You done had us wait for this album. What has it been, 2015, man? Come on, man. Come on, brother. Come on, man. I bought your album, brother. We deserve another album from Bomani Mayasa. I bought Lumumba's Revenge. Where is the album, brother? All right, I'm going to get off. What's going on, Richard Bruce, Daryl Runyon, Sister Naomi, Alafia to you too, Brother Olalu. Brother Ahmed Ma'atra asks, Peace family, what are price ranges should we accept for divination? Good question. Divination comes in many packages and many stages. Typically, when you go for a reading, just a regular reading to see what's going on for you, I would say between $50 and $100. That would be like standard, you know. Some priests, there are priests out here charging crazy amounts, right? That would be one of those red flags that I was talking about. Now, as your situation differs and you need a different type of divination, that price may go up. If you need what's called a roots reading, you know, you're looking between $200, probably $200 to $300. If you need a different type of reading, a marriage reading, there are marriage readings, you know. So before we get married in this culture, or even if you got married already, you want to know some things to improve your marriage, we have marriage readings. So marriage reading costs between $250 and $300. So, you know, the readings aren't that expensive, you know. They should never, I don't know of a reading that would be over like $300. Maybe Laulu can chime in and tell us if he knows any that are above that. But a regular reading should be, you know, between $50 and $100. And then you advance from there depending on what you need. Brother Bomani plugging his clothing line, Monk Clothing. Y'all go check that out. Jesse Williams, that's his name. Jesse Williams is the mulatto that was speaking at the BET Award. Weaponizer. Common Sense Politics 101. Why does it seem like African priesthood is the easiest priesthood to acquire if you have enough money? Okay. I would say that's a good question, Olagba, Olalu. Everybody doesn't share our politics. Everybody doesn't share our politics in regards to Oyinbo or Europeans, or, you know, our virtues as far as earning what you get. Everybody doesn't share that, right? So some people come in with money and buy titles. They buy initiations, they buy titles, they buy all types of things, right? And they get fully installed and don't do nothing to help the community and don't do nothing to help people and just live their life, right? And we as an African spirituality community have to take responsibility for that, because we know we should be doing divinations to see if they're even eligible for those things that they want to get. That's the African way. But somebody flash some money in front of you and all of a sudden you compromise your morals, you don't do that divination, you just do the ceremony. That's wrong as hell. That's wrong as hell. Any way you talk about it. I mean, you can't do that because you don't even know if it's going to be accepted. And now you're trying to force accept it on the spot because, you know, it's got to pay you money. Like it's something that we're going to have to really crack down on, you know, and we have vehicles within our community in which we can crack down on those type of things, you know, and we're going to have to start using them because there are people out here running wild in all types of traditions, you know, so that's something we're going to we're going to have to tighten up on, Baba. And if we don't guard our tradition, if we don't take our tradition seriously enough to protect it from people that want to just use it for selfish means, then one day it'll be gone. It's bottom line. Great question, Baba. What's going on, Brother Cubana, Brother Tyrone Taylor, Mike Ohm, what's going on? Looks like a Vev on your profile picture. Okay, that's what's up. Okay, Daryl Runyon asks, as an African in America, how can I make more African friends? Just go up and talk to them. What's up, man? Find out where they're from. Find out where they're from. Learn how to say basic phrases in their language. Africans appreciate that. They really do. When you come up on a person that speaks Swahili, might be East African, and say, "You jumbo," and they go, "Ah, how do you know this?" They are shocked because they think no one cares. So show them you care. "You jumbo." They go, "Si jumbo." You go, "Habari gane," and they say, "Nzuri." That basic conversation can earn you a friend. Trust me. How did you get on your path to finding the Orisha? How did I get on my path to finding the Orisha? Well, a long time ago when I was not doing so well in life, I read a book called The Way of Ifa by Philip John Neimark. I do not recommend this book to anybody. Let me say that again. I do not recommend this book to anybody. There's some things in that book that will steer you the wrong way. But after reading the book, it left me curious. It said I wanted to know who was my Ori Orisha? Who was the Orisha that ruled my head, as they say? So I did some research, and I found a Babalawo named Adayo Ologundudu. At the time, I had no idea that this was the chief for all of the United States and Puerto Rico in Ifa. Had no idea of that. So I talked to him. I went to his house. He did the reading in front of me. He told me some things. He told me I was a child of Ogun. And from there, I met several other people, like my godfather, Oba Atiyese Odun Ogulanu. I met my Alagba, Olalu Ogulanu, who are in the chat room right now. But from then, they gave me Elekes, they gave me warriors, they gave me Eshu. I was initiated into the Egbe, Gungun, and so on and so forth. But I got my start from Chief Dio giving me a reading. And from there, you know, the reading dictates what path you go on, or what is your path in life. What is your destiny? So that's how I got started. Alafia Oba Atiyese. I never knew how to say your name, brother, but it's spelled Namrehs. What's going on, brother? What's going on, Brother Jegna, Crawford Jegna? Deb Garcia, what's going on? Yeah, yes. Well, is it Ikasan where you at? Yeah, maybe it is Ikasan where you at. Ikasan, Baba. Is it necessary to burn incense at your altar? If so, what purpose does it serve, and which scents are the best? I don't know if it's necessary, like mandatory, but if your ancestors liked incense, burn incense. Because I assume you're talking about an ancestor altar. So if they liked incense, burn the incense that they liked. You know? Now, I do know when setting up a new space, it's good to smoke the space out. So incense, sage, you know, different type of smoke just to cleanse the air before you move your ancestors into that space. So I know that's the purpose of that. But, you know, I don't know of a particular incense, but regular incense should do. I hope I answered your question. Well, Baba Lalu says, but we do have the resources and ability to have all the amenities. Yes, we do. And we have to pull those resources and amenities together as a community and begin from there. We definitely have everything that we need. We just have to start organizing. Hey, I asked for one album, but mine said he got 3 coming. All right, hey, take my money now. Ben, what's the best pseudo book you read? Is there such a thing? Oh, y'all gonna get me in trouble. Now I'm gonna have to mention somebody. What is the best pseudo book? The book that just wasted my time. What was that book called? They were actually like a cult for a little while. I think it's The Science of. It was like a mixture of like Islam and Christianity, and only 144,000 people. When 144,000 people would come together, then the black race would rise. It was crazy. I can't remember the name. I think it's called The Science of something. I can't remember it, but I know one book I did read that I remember the title of that wasted my time, and it was called. I know some of y'all gonna get mad at me, but whatever. It was called The Melanin and the Black Body or something like that. It was by Dr. Layla Africa. And I'm not talking bad about the elder. But the information in that book is pseudo. I'm sorry. Be mad at me or whatever. You can't tell me melanin and melatonin is the same thing. You can't tell me that. I'm too well versed in science. You can't get that over me. So, that's one of the books that wastes my time. Thanks, Sean. Now you're going to have people all in my inbox. I appreciate it. Brother Kanoom asks, what all is in the marriage reading? Okay. When you get a marriage reading, you're going to get certain things that can sustain your marriage, certain things that are good for your marriage, things that you need to stop doing in your marriage, things that are detrimental to your marriage that you probably already know about, but this is going to confirm it for you. And you may have to do some egbahs or sacrifices or receive or risha or do something for the good of your marriage. So these are things that come out of marriage dafas or marriage readings. What's going on, Brother Robert Wilkins? Man, I wish I had someone to do a marriage reading for me before I get married next month, just to do a double check. You ain't getting cold feet, are you now, brother? You better marry that sister. No, but seriously, I have a number for you. If you really want to get that done, hit me up. I'll get you that number, brother. No issue. How do you feel about people making claims and can't provide a primary to back the claim? I think some people should just leave certain things to people that do this, like real scholars, real people, real researchers. Like, if you just want to talk about something, talk about that amongst your friends. Once you put it out there to the community like it's a fact, you're now held accountable for what you say. So if you don't have any references, any primary resources, any type of evidence to back your claim, people are going to question you, and you should get mad about that, because I have a right to know where you got this information from. You could have made it up. I have a right to know. Where did you get this information from? That's everybody's right. Nobody should be taking any information from me or anybody like it's just the gospel, Ask me where I got it from. That's everybody's right. So everybody should have some type of primary resource, secondary sources, something to present to me to say, hey, this is where I got this from. And we can walk it down from there together. But you got to provide me with something. Thank you for joining DeWiddy. Yes, we can link you to a priest, Brother Greg. Brother Wujawu is in the house. If you want to learn Medunecha, hit Brother Wujawu. Do aliens exist? I'm Africa. They call white people aliens. Do you think that's the narrative being pushed out of ignorance because our people want to be aliens? Do aliens exist? No one really knows for sure, right? I can say this. I did take a class from Harvard University on the study of life and evolution, what they call life, how they look for life on other planets, things of that nature. So if people don't know, they look for life on other planets by things that sustain life, carbon, water, oxygen, things of that nature. And they scan these planets that have these abundant resources, looking for people that need these to live, right? I think over 2,000 planets have been scanned so far, and they haven't come up with nothing. This is a hypothesis. If aliens exist, right? If there are people that exist like us or like anything else in the universe, right? I think we're looking in the wrong place. I don't think there's going to be on a planet or an exoplanet or any light years away. I think the way that we should be looking into is dimensions, because Africans talk about different worlds being mirrors of this world. That's all the ancestor realm is. They say it's a mirror of this world. But of course, you can't access it until you become an ancestor. So if aliens exist, this is a hypothesis, they are probably in a dimension where we cannot get to. That would be my hypothesis. If they in fact exist, they could be nothing. But if they did, that would be my hypothesis. No one knows for sure. As far as white people, they say in Africa they're called white people. I've never heard that narrative of white people being called aliens. I've heard them being called an abundance of other things: Yurugu, Oyinbo, Tubab, other names that have come to mean white people. But I've never heard them being called aliens. But I have heard them being the foreigner narrative being pushed. So maybe they mean alien in the sense of like something is alien to you, something is foreign to you. So they're like foreigners. That's probably what they mean by that. And yes, there is a narrative of people wanting to be from somewhere other than here, but unless you can steal me a spaceship, the spacecraft, an interdimensional portal that you came out of, you human, you're an African, you came from here. Sorry. So I'll be back for the instance question, okay? What the hell, Sean? Are y'all done having kids? You all in my business. My wife and I have discussed another bundle of joy, but it would definitely be born in Africa. We'll start them off early. Sister Lima, I'm not in the States. Do y'all do long distance reading? Yes, the priest that I know does do that. Any suggestions of specific bodies of information set by a particular individual that could be used as a reference point or guidelines for those who want to start an organization of liberation based on cultural principles? Because me and my peoples in London want to get organized and plan, put something into plan next year. We do a conference next week, so good examples of framework, structure, and detail are needed. Blueprint for Black Power. That's what you need, brother. You want to structure something in terms of structural, organized organizational principles. Blueprint for Black Power is the way to go. 100% get it going. Now you can combine that with traditional African principles. So you could use the Encyclopedia of African Religion. You could also use the Holy Odu as a reference point, especially the introduction of the Holy Odu book, because it talks about different African spiritual systems. I'm trying to think of anything else that could help you as far as structure. Malimu Barudi, Iwa, that book, you can use that as well. And that has an Akan or cone structural identity to it. So I think those books will help you in your quest, brother. And hopefully I can come out there to London and speak with y'all one day. I love to come. My wife wants to come. I have a cousin out there. So, put it in the works, Baba. How long do you leave food out for your ancestors? Typically 24 hours. 24 hours is the typical time. Excuse me. Hitman in the building. What's going on, bro? I have a few sources. They refer to them as aliens, meaning foreign. Yeah, I knew you meant foreigners, man. See you playing around. Okay. Peace, Sahar Laos. Ogunye, Moye. Peace, Brother Rash. I want to know my head had enough of endorsing Greek astrology. Libra. A lot of people got mad at me this week. Hey, I'm going to say some things that offend you because we have been programmed as Westerners to believe in certain things. Like from when you were day high, they were told you were born in July, you're a Cancer, right? That's what they told you. So from little, you were taught to endorse Greek and Babylonian literature instead of African literature. There ain't no Cancers and Capricorns and Aquarius and none of that in Africa. We are none of that. So I'm sorry if this has offended you, but we have to start distancing ourselves and rejecting these foreign cultures. How long have you been on this path and why do you think people? My wife asked me, how long have you been on this path and why do you think why do people think you bought your way into E5? I've been on this path since 2015. Consistently on this path since 2015. So we're looking at about 4 years. And I guess because people that really know me know that I'm doing well in life. And for some people, I popped up out of nowhere, right? So they assume I used my money to gain some type of titles in E5. First of all, if I was going to use money to get some type of title, I would be the supreme blah 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 of the universe. If you're gonna buy a title, buy it all. But seriously, all of my advancement has been through steady divination, practice, and patience. And that's the best way I could put it. I never had aspirations coming in this to be a priest. I never had aspirations to be anything other than a scholar. But Ifa told me, you heard that. Ifa told me through divination what my destiny was. So, you know the old Christian saying, God has a plan for you. Well, in African spirituality, we have something similar. It's called your destiny, or Iyanmo Ipin. We all came here for a purpose. Ifa helps you find that purpose. Another African spirituality systems help you find your purpose in life as well, or your destiny. So my particular system told me, no, you're going to go this way. No, you're going to do this. And if you do this, you will be prosperous in life. Because there was a time in my life where I wasn't prosperous. There was a time in my life where I was very much in debt, poor, hurting, and alone. This was before my wife. This was before the Amun Ra Squad. This is before Mossi Warrior Clan. This is before Samnetta. This is before Ashwa Kwesi in Egypt. This was before all of that. Where I was hurting as an African, trying to find my way, trying to find a queen, trying to find how I could be successful. And in my first reading with Baba Dio, Ifa told me that my suffering was over. That it was no more. And 2 weeks later, I got a job in Saudi Arabia making some money. When I was out in Saudi Arabia, months after that, I met my wife. And when I was in Saudi Arabia, months after that, I went to Kemet with Ashwa Kwesi. I returned the next year with my wife. So just by following my path, Ifa put me on something to where I could be great. So it wasn't that I bought my way in. Ifa gave me the money for what I needed to achieve my destiny. Okay, just Sherman. Okay. It's Sherman backwards. I just noticed that, brother. What's going on? They came before Columbus. Oh, you're going to get me in trouble. I don't want to. Can I skip that question? I do not want to talk. Do not want to get on Ivan today. Yeah, I'm skipping that question. I'm not talking about Ivan today. Explain the 12 hours of night in the underworld according to the Amduat. What is the moral principle one can take from it? The 12 hours of night in the Amduat, and Brother Ini Harat can probably expound on that more than I can, but that is your journey through the underworld to reach the ancestors' realm, to reach your destination, to come in front of us all, to go through the weighing of the heart and the feather. It's and if you notice, it's 12 hours. So, man, the Egyptians were so crafty, man. The 12 hours, day and night, right? So we know they knew how many hours there were in the day. So it's just your journey. It's a journey you're not guaranteed to make either. I want people to understand that. If you read the text, it talks about getting stuck in certain places during that journey. So your journey to the underworld is not guaranteed. Your journey to the Amduat, the ancestors' realm, is not guaranteed in Kemet culture. So it's just about your journey, brother. Excellent question. Yeah, brother Sherman, he tried to tell me melanin equaled melatonin. He's not the first person to tell me that either. Also, let me say this, melanin isn't carbon either. 666, the code for carbon, 6 neutrons, electrons, protons. That's not melanin. I don't know who keeps saying this. Like, it's not. Melanin has to do with the reaction with tyrosine, which gives you your color. It has nothing to do with carbon. Carbon is in the life chain equation for life. We need carbon, like in carbon dioxide. You know, we need those things, but it doesn't have anything to do with melanin. Brother said that's based on life as we know it, and based on how we conceptualize life, and that's all the thing that I can speculate on, brother. How I conceptualize life from an African point of view. I'm not messing with you today, Mrs. Jai. You are going ham in this. Ask Obi if aliens. Brother Sean asked, did Africa create all civilizations? It's a very loaded question. From a creation standpoint, you can argue yes, right? Because we're the first beings, and then Africans spread here and became other people, and through mutation, and then the civilizations rose, right? But I don't think that's what you're asking me. I think you're asking me, did African people create all civilizations? And the answer is no. No, we're not Greeks. We're not Hindus. We're not Europeans. These people made their own cultures after mutations and becoming what they are. So we have to stop acting like African people created everything, because it's not true. I'm sorry. It's not true. I don't care what Hidden Colors told you. I don't care, when you get down to the real research and you start studying things like haplogroups, you start studying things like genetic drift, you start studying things like migration patterns, you start studying things like geography, you will find that other people made other things. And we were nowhere in sight. That's just what it is. How do you spell that? How do you spell what particularly, Brother Jegna? What would you like for me to spell for you? Uh, Peace, brother. Prince Irin Ifawi, Alafia Baba. I think white people being aliens rhetoric comes from scientific confusion based on DNA. If scientists have said that all genes are recessive in the presence of African genes, then how did other races come about? But science doesn't say, okay, let's talk about this dominant and recessive thing. When they say that the African gene is dominant, you know they're only specifically talking about phenotype, right? Phenotype, the way you look. So if a black man and a white woman have a child, the child will most likely look black. Look, the way he looks. But his genotype can be something totally different. Therefore, you have Bob. A lot of people don't know Bob Marley's father is white because he looks black. The dominance took over his phenotype. Genotype wise, we don't know what his DNA looks like. So when you talk, there's really no confusion with the DNA. We just don't study the DNA. We don't study what the DNA actually says. You know, and I was talking about this with my wife. We have to come up with a system on what we accept as African, what we accept as European. If someone is 51% African with a black parent and a Puerto Rican parent, do we consider that person African? If someone is 46% African, but they have a Cuban parent and an African mother, do we consider that person African? These are things, this is why race fails. This is why it fails, you know, and biological diversity explains what race can't. So this is why we have to have these conversations, because it's reality. Everything isn't just black and white. Everything doesn't work the way we think it works. There are people with two black parents that now have an albino. Some people say that that child isn't African, but he is. Genetically, he just doesn't have any melanin. So, you know, we have to study these type of things to form a more informed and scholarly opinion. Can you be a living ancestor, and how? Yes, you can be installed as a, like an exalted being, a representative of the ancestors. Technically, my Baba, Olalu, technically he's a living ancestor. He's a representative of the Egunguns. He's a representative of them. He's the head of the Egungun society. He's a representative of the Egunguns here on earth. Technically, a king is a living ancestor. He's an exalted being, because you got to understand all kings in Kemet were derivatives of Asar. Because Asar was the archetype, the model, the blueprint of what to be like. So all of them came from a lineage of Asar. Same thing in Ifa. All kings of Ile Ife come from Oduduwa, who is similar to Asar, but that's their lineage, their archetype. So technically they are the living incarnation of this energy. So they're the living ancestor on earth. And a great book to read about that is Nasut Biti by Asar Imhotep. Shameless plug, Honor Rock Squad up. Nasut Biti talks about that in linguistic evidence and from Kemet and Yoruba and Central Africa as well. Okay, funny moment. Has your wife ever cooked something your body disagreed with? Not the lactose situation. No. No, not that I can recall. No, now we've eaten some places that, you know, did a number on us, but no, nothing that she cooked. I can't recall. Peace, Sister Cheryl. Peace, Karen. Give thanks, Bob. We need to get you to come visit. We have to try from that. We're not trying to invest more energy in the Western world. We are taking this plan into Africa. Ivory Coast has timber. Tanzania has bamboo. So we are looking to make a chain of compounds. What was the third book you said after? Oh, Iwa. IWA by Malimu Baruti. And if you need me to send you that afterwards, hit me up in my inbox. I'll send you how it looks. Who can I go to know my character, my head character and purpose? Well, only you can know your character, and you will be the one that would have to improve on that. But consulting a priest of an African tradition will be able to tell you your head and your character. If you need that number as well, hit me up in my inbox. Man, how often does Ori by expose itself? I'm not really sure what you mean by that. Although there are various different parts of Ori. Ori Inu, the Ori that's external. But one thing that I can say is constant feeding and washing of your Ori is required. I pretty much wash my Ori every day to refresh and keep your Ori. You want to keep your Ori cool and not be hot. You know how people say you're hot-headed. You don't want to be hot-headed. So that's one of the purpose we do it. Peace, Brother Marcus. Do you believe in the evolution of dinosaurs? Do you believe it was made up? If so, if you do, how does it fit into the evolutionary theory? When you say the evolution of dinosaurs, I'm assuming you mean the transition of dinosaurs into animals that we see today. And I absolutely do not only believe that, but have primary evidence of that. There are many transition fossils that you can look up. I believe it's transitionfossils.com, in which you will see the evolutionary process from dinosaur to reptile, from dinosaur to bird, from dinosaur to mammal, things of that nature. It is as much a part of the evolutionary theory as we are. Dinosaurs were beings that were on Earth before we came about. So if you are following the chronology of evolution, you have dinosaurs that are turning into different animals, then you have animals, and then you have us. We're talking about millions and millions and millions of years ago, before any human was on the planet, archaic or anatomically correct. Good question. Can you tell us the difference, the significant and distinct differences between astrology and astronomy? Okay, astrology is a system that was created in Babylonia and Greece based on zodiac. The word zodiac in Greece means animals. So based on those animals, they created a astrological map of stars. And based on when you were born, you would get a different animal. This is transformed into horoscope astrology. So that's when you started to get, people interpreting when you were born and your sign and how you would act and all this other stuff that's not based on any real testing and based on people's opinions. Astronomy is a star mapping, watching, testing process in which you can predict different occurrences off of stars. So I know because that star disappeared that harvest is coming. I know because that star is now over here that winter is coming. I know because that star went here that it's going to be hotter this year. Things of that nature, A good example of ancient astronomy is Nocta Playa in Kemet. It's a natural satellite that was built thousands of years ago with rocks. And this is how they could tell different things were going to occur based on star watching. So astronomy, I want you to do this. Put astrology in Wikipedia and see its origins and see its testing, because they've tested astrology scientifically. And then put astronomy in Wikipedia and see its origins and see its testing. And you will see the different rigor and you will see the different the methods that were put into both, and you will understand what I mean. I don't know how that carbon rhetoric came about other than hidden colors. I know it's in there. $20 in Nuwapi and made it up. Boy, you will not let up on the Nuwapi. Many people don't know you played college ball. Who was your toughest opponent, War Eagle? Ooh, my toughest opponent. Eon Young. And he was the point guard for the team, but he was my toughest opponent. Eon Young is one of the best basketball players I've ever met in my life. I've seen him destroy NBA guys. I've seen him, he should have been in the NBA, but politics and other things kept him out. But he was probably the best basketball player I've ever seen. Him and in my professional career, Jermaine Barnes. Two guys that Jermaine actually made an NBA basketball team, but he was hurt. So those two guys, tough. How long should I wait to give my newborn a spiritual bath and naming ceremony? That is an excellent question. I believe the standard is like a week. I'm trying, because I went to a naming ceremony and I think they kept the baby for a week and then they did the naming ceremony. And then they did the spiritual bath and everything that comes with it. I would say a week, but consult your priest, because you obviously know a little bit something about what you're doing to even ask that question. Consult your priest on the time that's standard in your tradition. But excellent question. I appreciate you and your wife. I think y'all know this one. Are y'all going to do a show on the Mossi Warrior channel and talk about spirituality or past together? That's an idea. Never thought of doing that. I'd have to speak to her about her availability, but that's a good idea. I appreciate that, Sean. Is in a race. So what is the mother's race? See how that game goes? Yeah, it gets complicated when you start really breaking down scientific principles in relation to what we call race. It gets very complicated. Peace, Brother Eric, Brother Jador. If you had to retire any 5 words used in the community, which words would that be? 5 of them? Hotepper, the N word, the B word. These last 2 gonna be tough. Trying to think of 2 more words that I would retire. I don't know if I have 2 more, but the N word, the B word, and Hotepper would definitely be the 3 that I would wipe from y'all minds like Men in Black. Because we got to stop using those. We got to stop. We got to stop, man. It's disrespectful. It's downright stupidity sometimes. We got to stop. Explain the differences in haplogroups. How does each originate? Do they all come out of Africa? Not all of them, no. But most of them, most of the first ones, come out of Africa. So, you have, they're different for males and females. So for males, you got A00, which is the most ancient one. And for women, you have L0. We're talking about some of the oldest and most ancient Africans on the planet at that point. And, A evolves into B, which evolves into CT, which evolves into DE, which evolves into E, which are most of us are E's today because it evolves into E. They also explain different migrations. So the DE haplogroups are some of the haplogroups that left Africa, along with CT. So if you're a CT or DE, your genetic material went into Europe and South America, Australia, and all these other places, right? For the women, I believe it's L3 that went into the other places. So The haplogroups are basically genetic codes that link you to your ancestors of the past in Africa. Great question, Kevin. Yes, Sorry Motel book speaks on titles. Let me plug up my laptop before I unexpectedly depart. Give me a second. All right. With your path leading you to Ifa or Ifa leading your path, what would you advise based on DNA testing? We find our ancestors, spiritual based, and attempt to practice to reestablish our connection. Okay, this is what we have to understand. This is a way that we are not like our brothers in the continent. We're not from one place in Africa. Very few people get both the same on both sides of their genetic pool. You're going to have African influence from a lot of different places in West and Central Africa because of the transatlantic slave trade, because of the mixing here in America, because of whoever your parents represented coming together. You're going to be from a lot of different places. So it's up to you to pick the spiritual vehicle that you want to ride in, right? And as long as it comes from your ancestral lineage, it's not a wrong one. You can go into both of them if you really want to, but it's up to you to pick. If you have a Khan, Yoruba, and Benin in your blood, you can pick either one of those, you know? And then you have to understand this. A lot of these people that are separated into tribes genetically are the same people. So the Ga, the Yoruba, the Igbo, and there's one other, are all genetically the same people, but they're in different tribes. So you could be in any one of those systems, you know, and it wouldn't be disrespectful to any of the ancestors. Can you be an Ifa priest and not know the language? Like at all? Like you don't know anything? No, you can't, because you have to say these Oworis, these Orikis in Europe. Peace Baba Olubabi, Ifa Niyi. And that brother will probably tell you, because I can tell by his name. He's in the traditions. So you have to learn this language to a certain proficiency. I'm not saying you have to be fluent, but you have to learn how to say these prayers, because in African tradition, words have power. And the words that have power invoke certain energies. And you have to learn how to invoke the right energies for the right job. It's just like the scientific method. You have to have the correct method to achieve what you're trying to achieve. So yeah, you have to learn an African language to a certain proficiency. Brother Heru, what's going on? This goes back. What's the definition of race, and what's the etymology of race as we use it? Okay, I'm going to speak on race. I'm going to hurt a lot of feelings, but I'm here to give you the truth. The way we use race, right? Race is basically a classification of what you look like. That's basically it. And there are 4 categories that are recognized as race in this country. There's African American or Black, there's Native American, there's Pacific Islander, and there's European. That doesn't leave a lot of room for ambiguity, right? So as far as race being a model that is accurate, it's not. Because you can look like a lot of things and be genetically something else. So technically, scientifically, there's no such thing as race. What there is biological diversity, which we all have, right? We have biological diversity. People that we call Africans are different from Europeans, are different from Mexicans, are different from Australians. But biological diversity and the differences between us has not been classified. It's never been classified. No one's done the work to actually look at these differences and affinities between us and give them actual names based on testing. So this is why race fails, you know, because no one's done that work. So we typically use nationalities. We typically use regional names like African or European or Native American, because these are designators that we can identify with. But where it gets complicated is when someone isn't 100% or even 90% or even 70% or even 50% one or the other. When it gets stuck between the two is when it gets complicated. So I hope I answered your question with that. Is tattooing or scarification something traditional to Africa, or do those customs come strictly from Europeans? No, that's African tradition, especially scarification. I can definitely tell you that. A reference for that would be the Cradle of Yoruba Culture by Baba Dayo Ologundudu. Africans definitely scarred themselves to distinguish tribes. There's someone knocking on my door. Hold on for just a quick second. And now that someone is gone. So yes, we definitely use tribal identification with scarification of our faces, scarification of our body. There are certain priesthoods where you get certain scars. So it's definitely not a European thing. Did indigenous Africans of Madagascar travel out up into Australia like some have suggested? Why or why not? I'm not entirely sure. I haven't studied Madagascar as a culture or a tradition, so I can't really say, brother. So you can't be a committed priest and not know the language either, huh? You need to have a handle on the language. If you do not have a handle on the language in which you represent, how do you know what you're saying? How do you know what they practiced? How do you know what this even means? You have to have a handle on that language. I'm sorry. At least a basic handle. The purpose of marriage is to bring two families together. And Ashanti people say the best marriage is to marry somebody from our own ethnic group. Just don't marry somebody from a clan. Oh, okay. This definitely sounds like Ashanti. They're very tribal, so that makes sense. Give us your best jewel from your energy presentation. My best jewel from my energy presentation? That energy is basically God. That's basically it. God is nothing but energy in African traditions. Whether you talk about the term Notoro, Simba Simbi, Oro, Ila, all of these are just energies. That's it. Energy is just the vehicle we use to do work. That's it. It's not as spooky as people make it. Energy is everywhere, right? They say God is everywhere. It's not that complicated of a concept once you start looking at it through your ancestors' eyes. They didn't see it as spooky as we make it today. The energy of your ancestors, the energy of the cosmic forces of this world that we call Netarus, or Bosoms, or Rishas, Panguls, and other names. It's all energy. Energy rules the day. What are your thoughts? Brother Wu Jawu, what's going on? Peace, Sister R.A. Joseph. What are your thoughts about Egyptian pharaohs claimed to be found? You know what? See, my own team sets me up with these questions. They already know the answers. They just want me to go in on them. Okay, a long time ago, we're talking about maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I thought that Egyptian artifacts were found in the Grand Canyon. And me and my brother did the research on this. And I'm going to tell you our results. What happened was there was a newspaper called the Arizona Gazette. The newspaper, the Arizona Gazette, reported that Egyptian artifacts were found in the Grand Canyon, right? And the archaeologists were, I know one was G.E. Kincaid, hence it was named Kincaid's Cave. And there was another guy, I want to say Joel Augustus. I think that was his name. So we did the research. The only newspaper that reported this was the Arizona Gazette. That was the first red flag, because when something that big comes out, other news outlets are going to report it because they want your business. They want you to pick up the paper and read about it from them. So didn't find that. Okay. Secondly, no that corroborated that claim that they got those artifacts from Grand Canyon. Okay, second red flag. The third red flag is the Smithsonian released a statement because the claim was that these archaeologists from the Smithsonian found these artifacts in the Grand Canyon. The Smithsonian released a statement that said that they had recovered no such artifacts from the Grand Canyon, and that these two archaeologists that were named and took credit for it don't seem to exist. They don't seem to exist. So not only did someone make this story up, they made up two people. These archaeologists don't exist. The artifacts in the picture that they spread through the newspaper were already in the British Museum. Whole thing is a hoax. Another hoax that we've fallen for, unfortunately. And because we don't research. When are we going to get to the point? Goodness gracious. Hold on for one quick second. Coming in with your fake corona. All right, last interruption. Okay. What sets us apart from Africans, Europeans, Asians, and Arabs? Okay, humans are 99% the same, right? So what they do is test zero point 0.2 of your DNA. That's why DNA companies only test 0.2. That 0.2 is a lot of genetic information and a lot of differences. Africans have different affinities that it just comes with our DNA. For example, West Africans are better sprinters. West Africans have more endurance, says science. African women age slower than other people. These are some of the differences between the Europeans, Asians, and Arabs. Europeans get some diseases faster than we do. Their immunity is not as high. Europeans have pale melanin. We have Yule melanin for the most part. Asians have pale melanin. Arabs have the same type of melanin that we do, but they also have differences in their DNA structure that we do. They have different haplogroups than we do. So there's a lot of differences, and there are a lot of similarities just because we're human. But there are a lot of differences just in that little bit of genetic material. So I hope I answered your question. Araba Awo Ijagabo Lafia. You click off and back on, you miss some questions. I'm trying to get all the questions that I can, brother. I think I got all of them. Yeah, Ujawu praise man. I know you be setting me up. Do you believe Asians have culture just as old as Kemet? or is it propaganda? Do you also believe that Africans influence Asians or vice versa? Well, this is the thing with Asian people. We're the forefathers of Asian people because there is a verified migration pattern to Asia thousands of years ago. So Asians in that, well, people in that area at one point were Africans. And through mutation in thousands of years, they become Asians, right? So to answer your question about influenced, that's a complicated question because what do you retain from the original Africans that came there to your culture now? See what I'm saying? We don't know what was retained, what was thrown out. We don't know. We don't know when they developed their culture. We have an estimate, but we don't really know, when was the origin? When did you start developing your culture? So that's, I always think, I always say Africans influence the world. How much influence, we don't know. But I can't say that it is an African culture. There are some things in all cultures that are African, or started with Africans, I should say. But I can't say that, we directly influence their culture. I can't say that 100%. Asian culture that is just as old as Kemet, I've never even heard that claim. I would have to see some evidence or a particular civilization to know exactly what they're talking about. If they're talking about just the continent of Asia, no, not that I know of, but I would have to see something and analyze it. Yeah, Joel never exists. Joel Augustus and Gene Kincaid don't even exist. Smithsonian denied that these people even existed. Kevin McKinnon says 23andMe or African ancestry. Pick one. Whew. Okay. The better one is African ancestry, hands down. They give you a particular pinpoint of your DNA, which is linked to a tribe. They don't sell your DNA. It's Black owned. It's a lot of plus. There's a lot of plus. So the only minus is the price. Like, African ancestry is very expensive. We're talking about $300+ just for your maternal, and you haven't even paid for your paternal yet. So if you're looking for a cost-efficient method, I would say 23andMe. But if you got the money to spend and you want one of the best, go African ancestry. Ben, you're wrong. What am I wrong about, brother? Says that he has. Oh, no, I'm not doing this today. Who always says sound like a gang of pseudo trying to shut down the live stream. Say Lafia need be. Modupe Egbe, my Egbe brother Akim Bola. Sister Denise, what's going on? What about the symbol over Shashat's head? Is that marijuana? And also, that also represents sex organs. What? People say these things? No, it's not marijuana. From what we can conclude, I remember having this discussion with Wujawa, that it's a type of measuring tool instrument. It's a type of instrument for architecture, from what I remember from my conversation with Wujawa. Maybe Wujawa can post a link or something else in the chat room about it, but no, it's not marijuana. So one who learns Meta-Nature should also learn Coptic. Is Coptic important in relation to learning Meta-Nature? I would advocate more for hieratic, for learning hieratic with Meta-Nature. Coptic being the quote-unquote last stage of Meta-Nature is, it's important to the evolution of the language, but I think hieratic would take you further in your Kemet studies, because there's a lot of papyrus in hieratic that are not in Meta-Nature. They're in hieratic. So I would say try to learn that. Question, sister. Am I really at the bottom? The last Peace, Sister Stacy. Peace, Bobby. If there are no more questions, I will go ahead and sign off. I appreciate all of y'all for your questions. It's been a good round of questions tonight. Okay, Brother Jegny, if you have a colonizer that infiltrated your blood lineage from 5 generations ago, but the child is a product of colonial rape, procreated with a black woman, and her descendants procreated African family, is that an African family? Look, an African family is a black mother, a black child, a black father. Simple. Let's not get into the 20 generations ago, because if we go back far enough in a lot of our lineages, we're going to find a person that's not us. That's just what it is. That's the whole argument with Brother J. Edgar Hoover. So how many other generations ago he's got a black guy in his family, but his mother's white, he's white, his father's white. Does that make his family African? No. Let's just stay with your families, man. It makes it a lot easier, because when we start going into the parents and you start looking at 100 and something grandparents and 300 and something and great grandparent, it gets complicated. Monife Re Ayaba. Appreciate it, Kevin. I'm glad you came, brother. You asked some good questions. I'd like for you to delve deeper into extraterrestrial beings. Brother, that's as deep as I get into extraterrestrial beings, what I said tonight. Trust me. Where's Dr. Maya? I don't see Doc. I miss Doc. Where's oh, there she go. Peace, Dr. Maya. Arrows up. Can families be blackwashed like they can be whitewashed? Yes. Okay, give you an example. If me and my wife had a son, and that son married a white woman, and their child married a white woman, and their child married a white man, and so on, so forth, so on, so forth. This family is going to look drastically different 5 generations from now than it would be when we were alive. It's that simple. Don't listen to the black is dominant. It's always black. No, it don't. Especially when you keep marrying others. That's just what it is. That's just science. You talk about the differences between us. Those are some of the differences between us. We carry different genetic coding. Genetic coding mixed with other genetic coding is going to make other genetic coding that's similar to those. We're diploid human beings, which means copies of cells, which means you get a copy from your mother, a copy from your father, and they come together. It's easy. Brother Dip Davis, what's going on? Mr. Back to Basics. Man, we miss you out here, brother. Brother Eric, what's going on, man? Hope you're still hooping. Baba Jamu Ogunleye McClendon. Peace, brother. I can assume you're Omo Ogun, since you got that Ogun in your title, in your destiny, in your name. You got that powerful name of Jamu in there. But are there any more questions for tonight? Y'all brought some real good questions tonight. I'm impressed with the line of questioning. It's really good. It's really good questions. I'm going to give it a little further. If there's no more questions, then I'm going to go ahead and shut it down. No problem, bro. Every Saturday, 12 o'clock is what we do. I feel that mixed race people have always have an internal conflict because they can't identify with one principle in wholeness. Yes, many of them do. Many of them struggle because, you have two opposing forces vying for your loyalty, you know, and you have to make that decision. You never know what decision they're going to make. You plug our channel, the wife book, and upcoming. Okay. Always you can subscribe to the Mossi Warrior channel. It's called Mossi Warrior Clan. It's on YouTube. Type it into the search. Find us. Got a whole young team of scholars going in on different parts of Africa. Tune in. My wife's book, Perception of a Misplaced African. You can hit her up. You see her in the chat room. Only one his last name is Njai. You can hit her up to purchase that book. You can purchase my children's book, Ikaro Mommy, Ikaro Daddy, talking about how we greet our elders in African traditions. And you can also get my first children's book, Aaron Knows About Africa. So those are ways that you can support me. And as always, man, 12 noon every Saturday, we're going to go in. Have your questions ready. Okay, this is the last question of the night. Who is the Orisha of creativity, arts, and organization? Art. Off the top of my head, art, I would say Oshun, because she is the Orisha of culture. So I would say that. Organization, I'm leaning toward Ogun as far as organization, because that's military. So that's organization there. So yeah, I would say Oshun and Ogun. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and sign off. Y'all been great. Appreciate all the questions. So I will leave you in the traditional way that we say goodbye in Yoruba, which is Odabo.